Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to another episode of P&MQ. We're going to do our Christmas prime rib today. This is actually Christmas Eve. I'm going to do a little prep work. We're going to get this ready to go into the refrigerator overnight to tack up the skin a little bit and put it on this cookie sheet with a cooling rack to allow air to get underneath it so we can get this surface of the rib roast nice and tacky. So the butcher was kind enough to already put string on it, but I'm going to take that off. And while I'm taking the string off, I'd like to give a shout out to my buddy Daryl that got this prime rib roast for us. This is a boneless one. Thanks, Daryl. This is going to be a good one. And I'd also like to give a shout out to T's Meats in St. Robert, Missouri for giving us this prime cut. It's got a decent amount of marbling on the end here, as you can see. And I'm taking this string off, even though the butcher did a fine job putting it on here, because he left some silver skin on here. And that's my main concern with the rib roast, is getting all that silver skin off. I want to get as much of that off as I can, because that silver skin blocks the smoke flavor, and it also blocks the seasoning from penetrating into the meat. So we'll come back and I'll show you what I've got. Okay, so I got all the silver skin off this roast, all the silver skin that's easily accessible. There's still going to be a little bit here. If you look at the edge of this roast, you still got a lot of fat. That's okay. You want a lot of fat on these because it is a prime rib roast. So we're going to keep a lot of fat on there. Who doesn't like fat? Well, Melissa doesn't like fat, but that's fine. She's semi-non-American sometimes. But anyways, I've got this roast all cleaned up for the most part. Junior Pitmaster making an appearance. And I'm going to blot this down to start that drying out process. We're going to put it on this pan with our cooling rack underneath to allow that airflow underneath. We're gonna set this in the fridge overnight. If you're doing this at home, the day before is important to get this all set up. At least 6 to 8 hours to let it dry, to get this surface nice and dry. It's gonna help that rub and the binder of olive oil to stick to it, and it's gonna make that nice crunch layer. So stay tuned and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, welcome back. Here we are the next day. I got the prime rib out.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, well, I said that in the first part of the video.
Yeah, but it was Christmas Eve.
Okay, so here we are on Christmas. Of course, here comes the Junior Pitmaster in her Christmas attire. So we got the prime rib out. It's been out of the refrigerator for about an hour and a half. I'm a firm believer on letting your meat come up to room temperature. You can see it's got a nice dry appearance to it, and if I were to blot it with a paper towel, there's nothing that's on there because it's nice and dry. And I talked about yesterday, it's important to get it all dried out to get that nice crust on there. It is miserably cold out today, so I actually already started the smoker up about an hour and a half ago, and it's been going to kind of maintain that temperature. So I've got our seasonings that we're going to rub the prime rib down with. We're going to start with olive oil all over just to give a binder. We're going to use this Cattlemans Steakhouse rub. I swear by that rub. That's all I use on my steaks. To give a nice texture, we're going to use Killer Hogs Texas barbecue rub, and then for a little bit of sweet, and to help caramelize that crust up, I'm going to use this Bovine Bold, which is also one of my favorite rubs, and that's from Ploughboys barbecue in Kansas City. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my olive oil. I like to keep one hand clean and use the other hand to kind of rub everything around. That way we're not getting a bunch of nonsense all over our bottles. We don't need a lot, but the main goal here is to make sure you've got coverage everywhere. If there's a crack or a crevice, make sure it gets seasoning and binder. This oil is going to help really make that nice color and that nice crust on the outside. So the main shining point of all of this rub is going to be the Texas brisket rub from Killer Hogs. So these other two I'm going to go kind of light on. I'm going to start off with this Cattlemans Steakhouse. And this is kind of more of a herbaceous type rub. We're going to build some layers on it. Just enough to give some flavor. I'm actually going to open up the dangerous end. And hopefully I don't eat my words on that later. Probably. That's okay. Yep.
A little bit of flavor.
That's all right. This is a big hunk of meat, almost 8 pounds. So it's gonna soak up all of that rub. I guess Leah
decided to get
her banana.
her banana peel and she's eating it. Thank you.
She smelled the rub and she got hungry, so.
It's never a dull moment at our house, people.
So she took it upon herself.
Here, Leah.
So, a little bit more on the top here. Actually, yeah, not there. Go with the bovine bowl. I use this on my beef ribs almost exclusively. Not exclusively. This is almost all I use on my beef ribs. It's a really good flavor. It's got a hint of celery seed in there. Pre-COVID, you could go to these barbecue stores around the area and you could, what?
I'm zoomed in.
Oh, okay. And you could actually taste test these, but Chinese had to mess that up for us. So you'll have to take my word for it that this bovine bowl is pretty tasty. It's a different flavor. It's got a lot of sweet, but like I said, that celery seed in there, it just gives a unique flavor, and it really goes good with beef.
Sorry for the jiggliness. The cat is underneath here, and the dogs are attacking her. I just ordered a tripod and selfie ring stand for the phone, so we are stepping it up in our video making.
PNMQ technical department.
Okay, stop it.
Technical department still needs some upgrades.
Like we said, it's never a dull moment in our house.
We'll get to that. So like I said, main crown jewel is the Texas brisket rub. It's got lots of coarse salt, pepper, and garlic, which is all you need on your brisket for a typical Texas brisket. So I'm going to finish up with this. And then as with any meat that goes on the smoker, we're going to let it set for a bit. And we are going to let it sweat it out. And
my phone's getting a little warm, so I'm gonna hold the phone.
That'll bring some moisture, whatever was left as far as moisture is concerned, to the surface. It'll help open those herbs up and really get that flavor going.
I'm gonna walk up and get a good
view on all the flavors we got going on here. Don't forget the ends. That's going to be the Pitmaster.
That's like one of the main keys.
Yep. That's what we call the Pitmaster privilege cut. Go generous on this. You don't have to get the killer hogs, even though I'm a big fan of killer hogs. You don't have to get this rub. You can mix equal parts salt, pepper, and garlic together. But I'm sure he adds, or whoever makes this, adds something else in there to make it what it is, and it's a really good rub. I use that on my brisket, obviously. I use it on a lot of different things that I want that coarse seasoning to. So there it is. It's all seasoned up. We're gonna put it on the smoker. We're gonna start off kind of low with about 225 to 250 to get some smoke flavor in there with cherry wood. All right, so here we are at the smoker. You can see my breath. It is frigidly cold out here. This is my Oklahoma Joe. I started a fire off at about 8 o'clock this morning. I like to cheat. We've got a wood stove here at PNMQ that we keep the house warm with. And I took a shovel full of coals and I dumped it in the firebox here. And we are cooking with cherry wood. And you can see I got a nice flame going there. The key on these smokers is that blue or clear smoke. And we've got a lot of flames, so you're going to see no smoke right now. Once I put this meat in here, I'm going to tune it down and close the air vent a little bit. It says it's running at about 207, 208. It's coming up quick because I just opened the air vent. But like I said, we'll shut it back down and that'll make more smoke. So I'm going to put it about midway in the middle here. I'm not even going to put a temp probe in yet because this has got a long way to go. And I've got a gap in my tuning plates where a lot of smoke flavor's coming out. So I'm going to set this roast in right over that, right in the center. The heat's coming from this side, so I set the thicker side of this roast towards the heat side. Close the lid. We'll come back in a couple hours. We'll take a look at it and we'll add a temp probe to it to see how we're going. Stay tuned. Okay, so Melissa and I just calculated it up. It's been almost 3 hours, but don't get wrapped up around time when we're talking barbecue. I do want to highlight the new product that she got me. This is called the Hog Lifter, genuine Oklahoma Joe. I'm going to use this for the first time to pull this prime rib off. I started off very low and slow, about 225 to 250 to get some good smoke flavor in there with cherry wood. You can see my fire's pretty well burned down. We got one more stick in there that I put just a little while ago. It was a battle today because the weather's so cold, but towards the end when I hit almost 100 degrees, I bumped it up to 275 to 300. I've got my pan here ready, and honestly, I'm not going to do much more talking because I need to get this off and get it in the oven. I got my oven upstairs preheated to 300 degrees. Oh, Moses, look at that color on that roast. Use the hog lifter. I'm guessing it's got kind of a serrated edge to fit through the grates. I might have to help it out a little. Look at that. Look at that color. Look at that crust. I put it on this rack with the wire rack. You want to make sure that you don't have anything really tight against it, because we're going to tent this instead of wrap it like we normally do with a brisket or a pulled pork. I'm going to tent this. I'm going to take it upstairs. I'm going to put it in my preheated oven that's 300 degrees. And then I'm going to turn the oven off. And we're going to let it set because we still got a couple hours before everyone comes over to slice into this. And of course, we're going to do a slicing it. So stay tuned. So we're back. We're done cooking. We didn't show any cooking videos just because we had a lot going on. We're trying to prep. I honestly haven't looked at it other than pulling it out of the oven. It's 118 degrees, so it went up all the way to 143. I kept it in the oven, kept it warm for a couple hours. Finished way quicker than I thought. So we're going to take a look at it. We're going to slice it up. It's looking pretty good. Remember that crust I was talking about? There it is.
Ooh.
It does look pretty good. I left the probe in here to minimize any juices coming out. That seemed to prove well. Just slice it up, take a look at it. As with anything, you want to slice perpendicular to the grate. And a nice sharp knife helps. We got lots of juice.
Diesel is
Hoping that I'll mess up.
helping.
We got a pretty good medium to a medium rare, which is what I'm looking for. Looks like we got a good smoke ring on the outside. Let's take a look at that. Pretty good color, pretty good juice. I'm not going to do the squeeze test like everyone else does because that just squeezes all the juice out. But you can see the cut itself. It's got a pretty good fat line in here, but also this sinew up here that I left, that silver skin. Not too happy about, but that's okay. It's still looking like a good cut. The showstopper in the middle looks really good. So thanks everyone for watching. Merry Christmas.